Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butz, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
During this time, it's more important than ever to support our friends and neighbors in the restaurant industry. Restaurant Workers Community Foundation has set up a national COVID-19 crisis relief fund. The money they raise will provide direct relief to individual restaurant workers, support other nonprofits serving restaurant workers in crisis, and offer zero-interest loans for restaurants to get back up and running. Visit restaurantworkerscf.org to donate today. And if you need a little extra motivation, you can DM your $20 donation to RWCF's co-founder John DeBerry on Twitter, and he'll give you directions for making a signature quarantine cocktail. Donate now at restaurantworkerscf.org.
So you don't shun the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove in them rhythm and blues that sin. It's gonna get you, son, in the end.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Souther T.
I'm Greg Benson.
Hey, Greg. How are you, buddy?
Oh, you know, just 20th consecutive best day ever. How are you doing, man?
I think my number is getting close to that as well. So important to note that sound a little awkward today. We're doing this remotely. We're all staying at home and self-isolating. Greg's at his place in Brooklyn. I'm at my place in Greenpoint. We've got some guests that are going to come on as well from afar. So, sound quality may not be as you're accustomed to, but please stay with us. It's going to be a good show. So, Greg, what have you been up to for the last week?
Just a lot of trying to take walks, and which involves a lot more mental calculus than it used to about how to stay 6 feet away from people. It almost kind of turns it into a video game where like you have to be one of these chess grandmasters that can see 6 moves ahead of what everybody else is going to do. It's like, okay, that guy's crossing the street there and that lady's coming out of the Rite Aid. So if I dodge around this car, I won't be hit by that bike messenger yet. And then I'll still keep a nice 6-foot radius around myself. That's what I'm doing to stay sane. I have actually been able to get some good work done on Bar None, which is good. So hopefully that's been in hibernation for a little while now. I'm hoping to wake it up soon. I'm not making any promises on dates because I've learned the hard way that is a fool's errand these days. But hopefully we'll have some new content out there soon. And yeah, I've gotten really good at building a pillow fort to capture the best possible sound quality when recording a podcast in my home. How about you?
Give me some instruction on doing the same, and that's what I've done here in my apartment. So we can hear some street noise from other places right now, it sounds like.
Yeah. The soothing sounds of Brooklyn.
My life right now is planning my next meal and cooking a meal. That's kind of it. There's with television in between. Maybe doing a couple of puzzles and reading some books. It's a very unusual pace for my life to be operating at.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I think, one of the reasons I personally, I think we both tried to be an advocate for finding ways to keep yourself, busy and sane during this time, because we're in an industry of people that have that are used to having a mission and having a task and like to be busy. And I think for a lot of people not being busy, having to artificially create ways to be busy on the fly is trying but necessary to get through this.
Well, yeah, restrictions generate creativity, so we're seeing a lot of creative outlets being explored from our friends, lots of cool posts and videos and even poetry and music, seeing a lot of on social media. The only way we can be close right now is through social media.
Exactly, and it's a good thing we have it too, because it's I have found it's weird.
More lonely time. This would be a much more lonely time if we didn't have such easy access to one another through social media. So we can be grateful for that at least.
Exactly, and in a lot of ways, our world has gotten smaller. Like, I haven't gotten on a subway train in about a month, which every time I think about it just makes my fucking head explode. But I'm also staying in regular touch with people that I know in Iceland and Tanzania and Berlin, and I see them about as regularly as I see people that live 10 minutes away from me.
Yeah, I'm curious if this will become habit after all this is over. If we'll stay as closely knit as we're becoming because of this exercise.
It'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see if to-go drinks stick around after this, too.
I'm hoping, talk about that some today, right? I'm hoping that this at least maybe makes some wiggle room for new legislation to be handed down. One of the problems that is lamented is that at the end of Prohibition, the federal government made the, I think, unwise decision to let all 50 states create their own laws surrounding liquor sale and distribution, which means that there's just a giant tangle of red tape out there. So I'm hopeful that maybe that'll loosen some of those things, and maybe we'll all get on like a little bit of a better equilibrium. And yeah, I'd like to see us being able to sell the bottled cocktails, for delivery and to-go purposes. I don't think we will get to New Orleans status, but that you could call in and order food from my kitchen. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to order a cocktail from my bar as well.
Exactly, and I think because we're being hit so hard as an industry, we're at a position in the national conversation that we're not used to being. Like, people, I think it was kind of a given that if you lived in a major city on any night of the week, you could go out to a restaurant and get a hamburger if you wanted. And now that you can't do that, I think people are starting to examine a sector of our industry that they'd taken for granted for a while. So hopefully we'll see some positive change coming out of that. And speaking of positive change and speaking of getting hamburgers, let's introduce our guests, shall we?
Yeah, bring them in.
All right. So we have Herminio Torres from Ilegal Mezcal. Well, they're all from Ilegal Mezcal. We have Herminio Torres, we have Lindsay Rexer, and we have Gilbert. Help me out with your last name. Damn. I was so close to a bingo there. Gilbert Marquez, all from Ilegal Mezcal, joining us by phone. How y'all doing, guys?
Oh, pretty good, man. Pretty good. Trying to work on my pillow fort as well. It definitely creative outlets, but I think that there's nothing more creative than trying to build a tower out of pillows. Exactly.
I conduct every interview in fear that right when I'm getting the best tape, it's all going to come crashing down. And all anyone's going to hear is an avalanche of goose down and memory foam.
Oh, you got the fancy pillows. I have the faux cotton ones.
I have one fancy pillow. It's being supported by all the unfancy ones. Well, the reason that you all obviously don't make hamburgers, you guys make mezcal, which is delicious, by the way. But the reason that I referenced that in introducing you all is that you guys are working on an interesting project these days when it comes to takeout from coast to coast. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, we have Herminio has been spearheading a lot of this to get some takeout to first responders. Herminio, do you want to talk a little bit about Hosp United?
So before we get into Husky United, just want to touch a little more on that that you're talking about, Greg. We put together this map via Google Maps. You can do kind of like your own custom maps with places and notes. And I had put out a Facebook post just asking anyone in the industry to add or tag places that they knew that were open, and to add a note. If they're doing takeout, if they're doing delivery, if they're doing cocktails to go. And there was some traction on that, and we decided to do it as a national approach with Ilegal. So we recently just launched this link, which is a custom map, which is a national map. It covers not only the on-premise, where you can find bars, restaurants that are doing cocktails, delivery, takeout, but also liquor stores, local mom and pop liquor stores, and again, being like we said, not a federally regulated industry. Some places operate more on the chain level, so adding those chains there too. But each single one has their own icon. So it's live. It's on our website. It's really up to date and easy to use.
What's the website?
It's ilegalmezcal.com.
Right on. I'm sure you're seeing some challenges with even trying to keep up such a digital masterpiece. Because even for my own self, every single week we're altering the hours and offering. We're having to pivot weekly. It's not just we didn't just decide, well, we'll do this and this will be our plan. Our plan has had to change somewhat daily. So I'm sure it's a monumental task to keep up with that stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough. So I think we started this March 16th or 17th in New York, when they pretty much virtually overnight said we're closing out, the majority of the places. A lot of places decided, hey, we're going to change our model to never having delivery, never having takeout, to all of a sudden overnight attempting to, build all these online platforms with Grubhub, Seamless, Uber Eats, and try to integrate that business and change their model. At the beginning, I think it was 120 plus locations in New York that I was actively updating. And within 2 or 3 days, I had to go back into that, and half of them were gone already. It was just not a sustainable model for a lot of places. So this website is as up to date as can possibly be with the ever, changing nature of what we're facing now. But I would say that it is as accurate as possible, and we're keeping tabs, making sure that all the information is as current as can be.
I mean, that's phenomenal. That's got to be helping a lot of businesses at least take in some revenue and, put at bay some of the hand-wringing that's going on. The anxiety level is at a red line for all of us right now.
Well, and also, after you.
Yeah, it's tough, So I, if I'm not mistaken, and you guys may have a better answer for this, but Seamless, Grubhub, and all of these online platforms are no longer taking any fees, right?
I've read mixed accounts of that. Some are, some aren't, and some of them are still being sort of nefarious, and they're just in charge that comes off. At least they're making some efforts to help. They understand that their survival is contingent on the survival of the places that they that they deliver for. So it makes sense. It makes sense to them to protect their own investment in that way.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the effort also with compiling this and just having, you've got the full address, you've got a map basically opening up and giving you all of the information about that place, and encouraging you just, to call, because it's so easy now to go on an app, but again, just that it's not confirmed whether, people are still taking, by people, I mean these organizations, these companies are still taking 30% or not. Just making sure that people call, pick up the phone, and order. That 30% matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's tremendous, especially when we're talking about grinding the gears down, from
from our normal sales to literally inside of for my businesses anyway. We're the ones that are still fairly open. We're running at less than 5% of the typical revenue that we take in. So to take away from anything from that is taking the old saying, I think, is we're polishing the brass on the Titanic, but I've changed it a little. I think we're trying to bail out the Titanic with a shot glass.
Seems appropriate. Well, and the other thing about this is that all of these companies have had to, it's not just that they're trying to figure out, okay, how do I let people know that I'm still doing delivery? It's how do I switch my entire operational business model from what it was 2 weeks ago to what it has to be now? And adding an extra layer of like, okay, and then logistically, how do I let people know that this is what they can have? And we don't have that one thing that they liked, but we have this second thing that they also liked. It seems like a logistical nightmare. So it's good that you guys are taking some of that pressure off.
Yeah, well, especially for illegal, a lot of us have been restaurant people or are restaurant people, and restaurant people are some of the most resilient people in the world, and also very adaptable. We can change. We can adapt to different situations. Running out of your well, obviously this is much more intense, but any little problem that happens in the kitchen, that type of thing, where we easily adapt to it, or at least do our best to adapt to it. And I think that that really has been helpful for a lot of people who are trying to figure out what to do next.
During this time, it's more important than ever to support our friends and neighbors in the restaurant industry. Restaurant Workers Community Foundation has set up a national COVID-19 crisis relief fund. The money they raise will provide direct relief to individual restaurant workers, support other nonprofits serving restaurant workers in crisis, and offer zero-interest loans for restaurants to get back up and running. Visit restaurantworkerscf.org to donate today. And if you need a little extra motivation, you can DM your $20 donation to RWCF's co-founder, John DeBerry, on Twitter, and he'll give you directions for making a signature quarantine cocktail. Donate now at restaurantworkerscf.org.
Well, you guys, I mean, as a brand, you all, I remember on like day one when the restaurants were shut down, you guys were like the first ones out of the trenches as a brand. What was it like? I remember specifically it was the weekend of March 14th and 15th where it went from, oh, maybe we'll be okay to fuck, this is bad. So what was that like for you guys as you sort of put your heads together and mobilize?
Well, again, Illegal is a brand that drives with through our partnerships with people that we have real relationships with. So it was picking up the phone, calling people, asking people not what can I do for you or giving people options, it's what do they need, and more often than not, it was helping out with getting the word out of these cocktails to go and that type of thing, but really just reaching out. And I think Herminio is actually one of the first people that I've seen. I'm not sure, you were at Ponyboy or one of these bars, I forget which bar, picking up bottled cocktails to go and delivering them to people. So we are a group of self-starters, and it was kind of just in our nature to reach out to everybody and see what anyone needed.
Yeah, and Herminia, we touched a little bit earlier on Hosp United, but let's circle back to that now. What is that program that you're working on?
Yeah, so Hosp United started about a week and a half ago. It was March 26th, and just backtracking a little bit there, March 15th, 16th is when frankly shit hit the fan. We had a meeting early in March, and we're like, hey, this coronavirus thing is really happening.
what's the landscape looking like? And everything seemed normal. And then 3 days later, we all hopped on the phone, and it was whiplash, And at first, like Gilbert said, it was just, for me, the way I thought about it was, this is loss. You're processing this like you would process the loss of a loved one, a friend. You go through the same feelings. You may have not lost a person, but you lost your staff. You've lost your business that you've been working on for so many years. So the first week, collectively, I think we were just, like Gilbert said, picking up the phones, just making sure that everyone was okay. And I think that first 3 or 4 days, there was collective kind of like shell shock going on. And we were just we were there, ready on the sidelines for whenever someone said, this is how you can help me. With that said, a week passed, and a coworker of mine in North Carolina, Mikey, reached out at 11 p.m. and he was like, hey, I have a friend of mine who's a doctor over in the South Bronx. He is practicing at Lincoln Medical Center. Do you know any places that are open now? I told him, I was like, Mikey, to be honest with you, it's a big city. I'll take a look at what I can find for Bronx Medical Center. Just pass me the doctor's number. Spoke to the doctor, and he was telling me, listen, Lincoln Medical Center is top 4, top 5 busiest ERs in the nation. They see more patients than pretty much almost every other hospital in New York City. They're in the South Bronx. They're working 2 shifts, 12 hours each, 8 to 8, and they're ordering food. And from the places that are open, a lot of them would be hesitant to deliver because it's a hospital, and they're trying, these restaurants, these takeout joints are trying to limit the contact or potential contagion to their staff, which is understandable. So I whipped up a website, and we put together Hospitality Workers United. And the concept of that was, you cannot spell hospitality without hospital. It's all hand in hand. So the concept was to feed those who help heal us. And we're working it in 2 models. The first one is raise funds, and these funds will go towards buying meals at the places that are currently open. A lot of these places decided to partner up with us and offer subsidized meals at a set rate, usually between $4 and $6 per meal. And we take the donations. We go to, for example, we've worked heavily with Lapa Lapa, with Old Gallo Taqueria in Brooklyn. And for Lapa Lapa today, for example, later on tonight, I'm going to go. There's going to be 60 meals. They're going to be $5 each. We take $300 from the donations that have rolled in and pay for that. Then personally deliver the meals up to Lincoln Medical Center. They have 60 workers, 60 medical workers every shift. So it's 120 people that we're trying to help feed every day, 7 days a week until this is over. So just doing that math, we're hoping that the donations keep trickling in. And after I've spoken to many restaurateurs that had a takeout model and that weren't affected, but in turn, they got more business, whether it be 20, 30% more business because other places are shut on that model. They said, listen, I'm able to join your cause and donate meals for those 60 workers. One place is doing 1 day a week. El Gallo in Brooklyn is doing twice a week. So we're building now this network of restaurants that want to help feed medical workers, and it's expanded from Lincoln Medical Center to we're doing NYU Langone, we're doing New York Presbyterian. Actually, right before this call, we had just delivered another 50 meals there. We've got Mount Sinai in the works, SUNY Downstate, and Coney Island Hospital in Brooklyn also in the works. And as this is progressing, just as the virus is changing day to day, this initiative is morphing day to day. So we're looking to add on beverage sponsors. So we've got a potential partnership with a coffee brand coming up. We've got a partnership with Matcha Bar. They're going to be providing Hustle, which is their energy drink, to hospitality workers. So not only are they now getting food, but they're getting food and a drink. And, you know, after speaking with a lot of the hospital workers, they just say the relief is amazing. We don't have to worry about what we're going to eat. We can just focus on helping people stay alive. And the morale boost is enough to just keep this going, because they are, you know, the frontline workers. They're the ones having to go face this, work 12 hours, sometimes 24-hour shifts, leave, deal with the trauma, and come back and clock in every single day. And they do that 6-7 days a week. So, you know, given the position that we're in right now with Ilegal, John Rexer, the owner of Ilegal, I think I can say this for all of us on the call, we're not only happy to, you know, call him our employer, we're happy to call him a friend, a role model, a true leader. And I think everything that he does really can be seen through Ilegal and the philanthropy that Ilegal does, and it trickles down to absolutely every one of us. John was kind enough to be 100% retention of our jobs for absolutely everyone across the board in the U.S. Our partners in Oaxaca, as well as the bar, Cafe Noce, that he operates, the businesses that he operates in Guatemala. So, you know, given the circumstances that I'm in, you know, inaction is easy. Inaction is, hey, listen, I've got everything taken care of. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait till this passes. But, you know, I'm lucky to have a vehicle and the connections in the hospitality industry to do something about it. So, you know, we're out there. We're just trying to get things done and be as creative as possible while being as efficient as possible.
That's fantastic, man.
This initiative is incredible, and I applaud you for taking it on. Yeah, it's very important that we fuel that front line, right? We gotta get those people the fuel that they need to get through the day. And as you mentioned, it's probably a tremendous morale booster, as well as just a sheer relief of not having to think. You know, I know even just a busy shift for me at the bar, just even thinking about how and where I'm going to get a meal is tough, and that's in normal times and not nearly so critical of a position in the community. What I would wonder though is, like, you know, I'm a bit angry and upset with the government for not, you know, offering more assistance to our sector, and I feel like, you know, not for nothing, I'm out of work. A lot of folks are out of work, and we're still trying to rely on donations. I feel like that's gonna come to a trickle pretty soon, right? People are gonna be a little bit more spendthrift as time continues to go on.
Well, and also we talked earlier about the there was an article in Forbes yesterday about how the CARES Act, the massive stimulus package we've all been hearing about coming through Congress, it has a lot of holes in it when it comes to our industry, and you know, for example, the conditions on there that you could use to turn your loan into a grant aren't necessarily feasible if you apply it to the restaurant model. I do not personally write for Forbes, so I'd invite all of our listeners to go and check it out. But the point of the article is that, you know, for people that don't have like a very, you know, mom and pop hardware store small business model, like you said, Souther, we're kind of relying on donations. And are you guys at all concerned about how to keep that going for the amount of time that we're going to need it?
Well, I think, yeah, go ahead, Gilbert. Yeah, well, I think that is really concerning. You know, the fact that the government has kind of overlooked the whole restaurant industry, but I think we're taking it a day at a time. we are trying to help our friends and people we work with closely, trying to help them day by day. I don't really know what's going to happen or how the industry is going to be in a couple of years or once this passes, hopefully very soon. But we are taking it day by day and adjusting with and rolling with the punches and taking the punches if we need to. But more than anything, just trying to be there and present for people who we can help, because we are pretty fortunate that we know that we are here and we're illegal and we're not going anywhere. But we want to make sure that a lot of the bars that we like to go into and have drinks with our friends are going to be there too. So kind of just taking it one step at a time. I mean, it's very uncertain in general for everybody. So for us to have the magic 8 ball on what exactly to do, we don't. But we do know that we have a large crew of big-hearted people who want to help out their coworkers, their peers, and their fellow man just in general.
Yeah, Greg, so honestly, I'm right there with you on, and I think all of us, even on the brand side, the supplier side, all the other different parts of the hospitality industry are completely, utterly just pissed off with the way things are going. And it goes down and trickles down into absolutely every level of the hospitality industry. There has to be better federal resolutions put in place that help hospitality workers. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a chef and owns a restaurant, and she was basically saying, listen, I'm being asked to commit financial suicide by taking out all these loans at what they say are favorable rates of, 2, 3, 4%. $500,000 loans at that, that's a mortgage. That's a house.
Yeah.
How am I going to pay that back? There's an uncertainty in the sense of I don't know how long I'm going to have to shut for. What if this is not something that is over by the end of April, that instead over, end of July, end of August? That's just unsustainable. And, my fear is that it's going to be a hard hit for our industry, and a lot of places may not come back. And I've already spoken to some people who, they in their minds are willing to take that sacrifice to just make sure that their staff is okay. Where it's, I'll take out a loan, I will go bankrupt, but as long as, like talking about the Titanic, I'm the captain of this Titanic, and I'm going to make sure that everyone gets on that raft, even if I have to go down alone.
Yeah, these are like heartbreaking and gut-wrenching decisions that people are making. And I think that it's, when we talk about the federal government's lack of response to this industry, I feel like one of the problems is that, they're not paying attention to the ecosystem that is the industry. We're talking bars and restaurants. That means the guy who delivers my linen service go out of business. That means the guys who, obviously, the truckers who bring in the beer, wine, and liquor are going to go down. The liquor distributors are maybe going to go down. The farmers are have trouble. Like all the delivery teams from all these places that do have delivery. The tertiary is like Seamless and Uber Eats and Grubhub, etc. That's going to affect the news side of our business, which is pretty strong. That there's no bars and restaurants, there's nothing to write about. That drives advertising dollars. Like the ecosystem is much more vast, I think, than the federal government is giving it credit for as the third largest employer in the country,
Definitely. And, another layer to this is, Gilbert, myself, we're both first-generation Mexican-Americans. We've both grown up in the hospitality industry. I'm 30. I've been in the industry since 14, busing and then learning about it. So it's also going to affect the immigrant or the undocumented worker populations most immediately than anyone else. You have dishwashers who are working for sub minimum wage And, you know, you can't save money. There's no savings. There's no safety net. They are most oftentimes heads of households that are, you know, taking care of a family and also trying to send remittance money back to Mexico. Virtually overnight, they have zero rights to them. They're the invisible mass workforce that is going to be facing really, really serious consequences. And, you know, hard to make decisions where it's, do I fly back to my homeland? You know, am I now not going to be able to feed my children? What's going to happen? With that said, I also want to bring Lindsay into this conversation, because Lindsay, as this all angers us, it's easy to just take that anger and Saul gets to be completely pissed off, right? But Lindsay spent the last few weeks putting together a document for hospitality workers, which basically gives you information as to, you know, an organization, the number, what they're doing, how to reach them. And, you know, it encompasses that. It encompasses, what do you call it? The undocumented workers organizations that are helping them too. So we put together these resources to also lessen the burden of, you know, having to do all that research when you're already facing a tough time.
Yeah, Lindsay, would you like to elaborate on the initiative?
Yeah, so, hey, Hermanio, I built out a resource that just has everything. It's for anyone, but really directed towards the hospitality and beverage industry. And it's resources from, like, utility support payments to needing meals, to where you can go if you need shelter, to basic health care. And a big one on there is the USBG, the Bartenders Guild. And we've made a large donation to them because we also are really supporting what they're doing. And that's very focused on the beverage industry. And they're taking applications, and it is everyone that is, like, touching alcohol anyway. So is it the bar backs? Is it people washing the dishes? The bartenders? And they're really focused on getting out money as possible to support people that just lost everything. Yeah. Bill, do you have anything to ask about USBG?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a time when the old mantra of, like, if you have the ability to do good, you have the responsibility to do good comes into play. And it's been hard to see a lot of people with the ability to do good, cough, cough, federal government, cough, not do too much good for a major sector of the American economy. But it has been heartening to see a lot of brands, individuals, organizations stepping forward to help people who, you know, have been affected by this, who don't have a lot of visibility in our national landscape.
Definitely is important. I mean, just the brand is made up of like-minded people who have very similar values. So it was really easy for us to just make this pivot and start working with local bars and just our community in general. It was surprising and unprecedented, as everybody says, but also there's no brand there's no team that I know that would have been better prepared to make this sort of change in focus. And we've always been super in love with our community and have a lot of love for our community. And this was honestly, it is honestly just very tough to see what some of our friends are going through. So that makes it easier for us to want to get up, stand up, and help.
Yeah, but it's still commendable knowing that there's plenty of people out there who could be doing things who maybe aren't. And again, obviously directing my ire towards the federal government, and also there are just lots of people who maybe don't know how to help. And I think when you create these for them, it makes it a little easier.
Well, this is the difficult part, that we are directly told to social distance and self-isolate. So us going out and doing our best to stay safe is not exactly the easiest thing to do when everybody is telling us to just stay put, just stay home. But taking proper precautions, I think, is of the utmost importance, and I think we're pretty prepared to do that, and we have been doing that. So, but that's why I do kind of understand certain people. I don't understand why the government wouldn't, but I do understand why other people would just social distance and stay home and stay put.
Yeah, you see our brand, you see Ilegal. I think Ilegal's track record speaks for itself when it comes to that. As far back as Chick-fil-A making derogatory remarks about the LGBT community, we immediately, instead of putting a poster up of a bottle and saying drink Ilegal, it was, hey, here's a campaign denouncing those messages that they put out. You're familiar with our campaign that's run longer than we hoped for, the Donald Eres un Pendejo campaign. Again, we could easily use those ad dollars to, fund some, poster or wild posting of a bottle and a glass, and again, just saying like, hey guys, Ilegal Mezcal, drink it. But no, we said, hey, this guy offended a lot of our communities, a lot of our people, and a lot of these people do not have a voice, and those who have a voice, it's not very amplified. So let's take these marketing dollars and let's tell the world that Donald Eres un Pendejo. That goes right back to the federal government, and it continues to go on to this day. Again, it could be easy for us to just keep posting about, go buy a bottle, go do this, go drink it. But I think it's in these moments your most impactful actions are being there for the community, like putting the business aspect aside, and yeah, in the end you have to remain sustainable as a business, but putting a pause on it and seeing it as a human being, and that human element of, okay, how can I help my immediate community that is in need right now.
Yeah, it's tough work, and I'm really appreciative you're doing it. Let's pivot this conversation a little bit and talk a little bit more about like the happy times. Let's talk about Ilegal Mezcal. Tell me all about it.
So Ilegal Mezcal is an artisanal mezcal made in Mazatlán. Its heart is in La Antigua, Guatemala. And a lot of, basically our home base is in New York. It was started by John Rexer. John Rexer, Hermenio actually spoke about him a little bit before, as our leader, as our good friend, a true leader. But John Rexer is also a world traveler and a true Renaissance man. He's pretty much had every job. Truly the most interesting man in the world. Anyway, so John lived in Huntington, Long Island, or is from Huntington, Long Island. But in the late 90s, early 2000s, decided to move to, and actually traveled down to South America and Mexico. Lived in Mexico for a bit. And his travels took him further south. Landed in a small city called La Antigua, Guatemala. La Antigua, Guatemala is cobblestone streets, pastel-colored walls, surrounded by three, I believe all of them are active volcanoes, and decided to open up the first mezcal bar outside of Mexico. And he didn't know that at the time the mayor was religious, and the city was pretty much dry and didn't have mezcal. So he wanted to open up this first mezcal bar outside of Mexico, and it just wasn't possible. He calls his distributors, and he goes to the liquor stores and tries to find mezcal, and he just finds like the cheap stuff. in plastic jugs and that type of thing, and bottles of tequila. So he says, well, shit, all I have is bottles of tequila. I can't really open up a mezcal bar like this. So John decides to take a 24-hour bus ride from Guatemala, from Nativo, Guatemala to Oaxaca, Mexico, and start, creatively transporting the mezcal back into Guatemala. John said, I never intended to be a booze smuggler, but I was a bar owner with a supply problem, and that has that story. So he takes this 24-hour bus ride up into Mexico, starts to find the best mezcal that was the most palatable for himself, and just the profile that he was looking for. Starts bringing that back. He starts bringing it back in backpacks, then duffel bags stuffed, boxes, and then boxes turn into pallets on rafts. And then he's paying off the local government, and he's paying off the local gangs and the cartels. Before you know it, he has this whole smuggling operation. And he does a sort of, he kind of wakes up one day and says, shit, this is getting really fucking dangerous. So he decides to create this brand called Ilegal, which is a tip of the hat to the history of smuggling. But this is kind of just what the brand has been founded on, just our philosophy and just our ability to be adaptable comes all the way from the origination story.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and I love when I hear it. And it's great gift as well. So let's wrap up the show here and sound off with those those website addresses where people can get a hold of all this information that we talked about on the show today.
Yeah, you can find a full list of all of the bars that we are working with, and all the bars that actually are having takeout cocktails and also takeout food on our homepage, on our website, ilegalmezcal.com.
Easy enough.
Maybe you want to get the Hosp United.
Sounds like he went to get a tequila.
He's creatively sourcing some mezcal as we speak.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure the website is just hospunited.org. I believe it's .org. And I'd also like to say that if anyone is curious about some ongoing COVID relief resources, I have them saved on my Instagram story highlights. I posted them a little while ago when we talked to John DeBerry. They're still there, including the number for the Capitol switchboard in Washington, D.C. If you feel so moved to call up your representatives and let them know that you would like more aid for restaurants, which is the third largest employer in the country, in the next iteration of the CARES package, by all means, use some of that quarantine time to give them a buzz and let them know how you feel.
Yeah, as I always say, use this time to be creative, constructive, and, if you want to reach Hospitality United, Hospitality Workers United, you can go to Hosp United.
Sorry, guys. I realized that, have you ever had that moment where you're on a call, when you're on a conference call, and you're talking and talking, and then you realize that you're on mute? So it's hospunited.com, HOSP United.com.
Right on. Excellent. And you guys, Ilegal has an Instagram page that people can look to as well, yeah?
Yeah, that's at Ilegal Mezcal, 1L, ILEGALMEZCAL on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I really want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank you even further than that for all the initiatives that you're putting forward and trying to, bail out the Titanic with a shot glass. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day of doing all the things you are doing to sit down and talk to us on the phone for this episode of the Speakeasy. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove in them rhythm and blues that sound. It's gonna get you sun in the air.
The Speakeasy is powered by Simplecast.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to learn more about our 10-year anniversary celebration happening all year long, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find us at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network.
Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be part of the food world's most innovative community? Subscribe to the shows that you like, tell your friends, and please join the HRN family by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.